Joining me now is Kenneth MacLeod, President and CEO at Sonoro Gold. Great to see you again, Ken.
Great to see you too, Mark. It's a pleasure to talk to you again.
Yeah, we can do this in person instead of over remote, so this will be good.
Much better.
Yeah. So you've got this important project in Mexico, Cerro Caliche, and you've talked about before about starting small, minimizing risk, getting to production in maybe a year's time or so, and then using the cash flow to expand the resource, basically. So that's the strategy. Could you sort of remind us and flesh that out for us?
Absolutely. The strategy is tried and trusted. It's been done many, many times in Mexico. But more specifically, it's been accomplished by members of our own technical team. For example, Jorge Diaz, our mining engineer, VP of operations in Mexico, he has spent many, many years, 50 years of experience in designing and building and operating gold mines. In fact, a total of 11 gold mines over that 50-year period. And he and a very legendary mine developer called Chester Miller worked together for many, many years. And the philosophy was always start off small. Don't go out there and spend tens of millions of dollars on drilling. Start off small, get into production as soon as you possibly can, and start generating revenue and applying that revenue to growth, organic growth for the company and the project.
Now, where you're at now, according to what you said last time, was sort of the 11th hour, as you described, in terms of getting the environmental permitting process done. So where are we now on the clock?
Oh, I would say 11th hour and maybe the 59th minute.
Okay.
It's that close. And the reason I'm suggesting that is we have spent a lot of time in Mexico recently on the environmental issues, and the project is so well situated that it has sailed through the environmental review process very well. It's an area where the sight lines are not degraded. The nearest habitation is 14 kilometers away. It's a little village called Cucurpe, and we hire people. We have an office there. They're looking forward to us building the mine so they can benefit from all of these spin-off effects of having a mine in their local community. The area has been mined before. Some of the areas surrounding us have been mined or are being mined. There's 3 producing mines in the area, plus Agnico Eagle are 10 kilometers away with their Santa Gertrudis project. So we're in an area that is very, very mining friendly. We're also operating on a large cattle ranch, and the cattle rancher is very, very used to dealing with many Canadian mining companies. He's probably got decades of experience in dealing with Canadian mining companies. So he's got another operating mine on his ranch, and so adding another one is also fine. And we use the rancher for construction purposes, building roads, building drill pads. So we have a wonderful relationship. So all in all, no, there are no endangered species on the concession. We are an oxide deposit, so there's no possibility of contamination of the water table. And the water table is quite distant, about 8 kilometers distant from where we're proposing to build the mine. So all in all, we don't see any environmental issues. And as far as timing is concerned now, we see that the SEMARNAT, the environmental agency in Mexico, is taking the responsibility for getting projects through. Now, there was a period of time there that we were focusing on other environmental issues unrelated to mining. Now we're at the point where they're starting to address the issue of mining, because no new mines have been built in Sonora State in the past 4 years. And of course, the economy of Sonora is highly reliant on mining, gold mining and silver mining. 25% of the GDP emanates from the gold mines and the silver mines in the state. So they want to replenish the depleting gold mines that are currently operating, and that's where we come in. And so now I see there's a tremendous amount of activity taking place to ensure that we are successful in getting the environmental permit issued in the foreseeable future.
And Ken, one of the key selling points of Sonoro is that you say you're maybe about a year away from production, and prior to that, of course, construction. And I understand you still need a change of land use permit. Is that just kind of a rubber stamp? And maybe take us through the timeline to production.
Yeah, the change of land use permit is the easy part. You know, once we it can be done in conjunction with the environmental impact statement. That's fine, but we estimate it'll take no more than a couple of months to get the change of land use permit, and it's a local issue. It's done at the state level. So and we have a tremendous amount of support at the state level. The governor of Sonora is a champion for us Canadian mining companies that are operating there, and he is really providing a lot of assistance in getting through the final phases of the environmental review process. So the change of land use permit, I believe, is, like you said, is it a rubber stamp? Not quite, but it's not going to delay us in any way, shape, or form. So from the time that we get the environmental review completed and approved until we start construction, that's typically a couple of months anyhow. So in the meantime, we'll be going through the change of land use permitting and at the same time securing the project financing.
Very good. Now, you said there's definitely potential to expand the resource, and that especially to the west and to the north, and that you're on the cusp of expanding the resource. So can you kind of flesh that out in terms of the potential to eventually have a much bigger project?
Mark, do you mind if I add the east and the south as
East
well?
and south, too.
Yeah,
Sure,
well, we figure at this point in time, based upon the drilling to date, we have drilled less than 30% of the known mineralized zones in the property. Everywhere we go, there's mineralization present at surface and, of course, to depth as well. And we've identified 25 different parallel vein structures that are trending towards the northwest. And some of them obviously are accessible from the surface because we've mapped and we've done some assays on most of these mineralized zones, but we haven't drilled all of them. We've only drilled about 8 so far, and so going forward now, we've identified some areas. The western zone, for example, the area known as the Colorado zone, the Guadalupe vein structure, and the Cabeza Blanca vein structure, has a grade that is almost double, and actually it is double the average for the entire project. And we've identified that as where we want to start mining. And so the first 2 to 3 years of life of mine, out of a total right now of 9 years, will be originating, the production will be originating in this western zone. And it also enables us to recover the capital very, very quickly because the grade is so much higher. So the average grade for the project is 0.46 grams per ton, but the average in the western zone is about between 0.8 and 0.9 grams per ton. So you can imagine you asked about potential expansion of the resource. That is a natural area for us to expand. And SRK, who are the consultants on the resource side, have identified these zones that we should be drilling in the near future in order to keep expanding in the high-grade zones. So we feel very strongly we've identified an area to the north that is underlain by rhyolite that is giving us elevated to gold readings and elevated silver readings. And we will be drilling there, but we're going to hold back on that until we are actually in production and generate revenues from the production to expand the resource in that northern sector.
Okay, Ken, broadening it out to gold itself and the sector itself, you said it's been kind of a troublesome market the last couple of years. Are you seeing any signs of improving investor sentiment? And how much of this has to do with higher interest rates and the cost of doing business, and that's sort of constraining things right now?
I think the higher cost for business is truly a reflection of inflation, and the higher interest rates, of course, are contributing to that to the nth degree. But as far as the gold price is concerned, this is a strange situation for us. While the gold price is going up, and we're almost at $2,000 again, I think today it's $1,940 or $1,950, you would expect that the gold companies would be profiting from that. Well, the production companies are profiting. Of course they are, because the margins are wider. But it doesn't really reflect in their share price. And specifically for the junior mining sector, we have not had any love in the market in the past 2 years. None whatsoever. And I believe it's a case of that the market has been focusing on specific aspects of the mining industry: lithium, uranium, and strategic metals, and that's fine. But the gold will start to generate interest in, I believe, in the near future, because as we get closer to the $2,000 mark, maybe go over $2,000 in Q1 of next year, then I think we'll get at the attention of the marketplace. Because right now, the other flavors of the month maybe are dissipating. The technology and the bitcoins. Bitcoin has been on a surge in the past little while, but I believe that gold will have its day, and I think Q1 of 2024 is going to be, I would say it's going to be a repeat of the 2000 decade, where gold went from next to nothing up into all-time high at that point by the latter part of the decade.
All right, we'll have to see, and naturally, once rates peak and maybe start rolling over, that would obviously help too. Now, you say you like to be presented with the opportunity to tell investors that the true value of Sonoro Gold is significantly higher than it stands right now. So just to wrap it up here, what are some of the, you've touched on them already, but some of the key compelling factors that investors really need to know about in terms of taking an interest in Sonoro Gold?
Oh, that's a good question. I believe that the first and most important item to discuss would be the people. We have a team that is very, very competent, extremely competent in taking projects through from early stage exploration all the way to production and then operating mines. So like I mentioned, our mining engineer, he's built 11 gold mines in Mexico over a 50-year period. And he's operating a private mine that he started building 6 years ago. So we have that ability. We also have our VP Exploration, Mel Herdrick, who has well over 5 million ounces of gold discovery to his credit. So the technical team and the supporting team, along with these two gentlemen, is a purely exemplary team, I must say. On the financing side, John Darch and I have been in the market financing resource companies for each of us for 40 years. So we've raised $400 million over that period of time. So we have a team that is capable of taking the project through and, most importantly, taking it to production. Secondly, the project itself, like I mentioned before, less than 30% of the known mineralization of the project has been drilled and assayed to date. And we have multiple targets that we know are mineralized, and that should add to the resources over the coming 2 years of drilling. We're truly confident that the size of the resource should increase dramatically. And SRK pointed it out in their resource report that while we currently have 440,000 ounces of gold within the pit shell, the current design of the pit shells, there's an additional 285,000 ounces that are surrounding the pit shells, but the drill spacing is not tight enough to incorporate them. So with a little bit of infill drilling, we should be able to incorporate that. And if you look at, if you tally up the mineralization from that perspective, then we're probably looking in the order of about 700,000 ounces. And I believe it very strongly when we start going out into the outlying areas to the north, to the south, east, and west, that we should be able to keep enhancing the resource as we continue with the drilling program. So I look forward to getting into production, and from the time we get the environmental permit approved until we're in production, we estimate less than 12 months. So we continue the drilling program. So 2 to 3 years of additional drilling should really have a dramatic impact on the size of the resource and therefore the project economics.
All right, exciting stuff. Thanks for the update. We'll see you at the Red Cloud Conference in early November.
Oh, I look forward to that.
Okay,
Thank you, Mark.
Kenneth. Great stuff. Kenneth MacLeod, President and CEO at Sonoro Gold.